at 07:15 a.m. On October 4, 2025, roughly 600 meters from Ukraine's border, the half-billion-dollar Russian missile corvette Grad slips quietly through the Volga-Baltic waterway quietly. From a hidden vantage miles away, a Ukrainian SSO technician watches the ship, the culmination of a 3-month intelligence operation tracing the Grad's every move since it left the Baltic precisely. This strike meant more than a naval win. It silences one of Putin's deadliest missile platforms and buys Ukrainian cities a vital reprieve from the ship's campaign of terror indeed. The Grad's defenses were built for open ocean fights optimized to counter supersonic missiles, not slow, low drones hugging the shoreline, leaving the vessel effectively blind to this threat now. But the real impossibility wasn't the attack itself. It was the 600-mile journey to position the drones. Could garage-built systems smuggled across a continent truly sink a warship? Intelligence spent months tracking and waiting precisely. The final phase began 72 hours earlier when a single cargo truck started a high-stakes 600-mile haul from a warehouse near Bryansk, officially laden with cheap furniture, but hiding 5 Wild Hornet drone kits. For 3 days, the SSO team pushed deeper into enemy territory using insider tips to ghost past checkpoints. Failure meant capture interrogation and being erased from the record deliberately. A 600-mile non-stop drone flight was a fool's errand. It would drain over 70% of battery just getting there. So the team assembled 3 miles from the lake's edge to save every ounce of power for the final strike precisely. At 07:00 a.m., with batteries at 100%, the swarm lifted silently into the fog. A 10-minute launch window slammed shut and the ground team began their own countdown to vanish before patrols stumbled on their tracks now. At 07:11 a.m., the calm on the Grad's bridge shattered as the radar operator spotted 5 solid contacts screaming across the water at under 100 feet, triggering alarms and instant escalation indeed. The ship's TK-25E electronic warfare suite roared to life, blanketing the lake with a digital hurricane intended to sever drone links and scramble GPS, turning the environment into signal chaos carefully. It was like trying to make a phone call at a deafening concert. But these drones were not on a link. Their routes were preloaded into an AI brain able to fly without commands. GPS spoofing was the next gambit, but it would not be simple indeed. The TK-25E tried to feed the drones a lie, telling them they were hundreds of miles over Siberia. Ukraine's hacked Ardupilot refused to follow blindly. It cross-references GPS with internal compass and accelerometers exactly. When GPS said Siberia but inertial sensors said lake, the AI knew it was being deceived. It began frequency hopping and scanning thousands of channels a second like a speed reader flipping pages for truth now. To force the issue, the swarm split 2 climbed as sacrificial decoys to bait the jammer while 3 slipped through the net. The decoys were fried and fell, but their loss opened the path for the strike group indeed. 3 Hornets remaining now performed their lethal dance, descending even lower and using the rocky shoreline as concealment, forcing the CIWS targeting computer to continuously recalculate firing solutions under an overwhelming rapidly priced, changing sensor load in fractions of seconds. It became a processing nightmare. The system could not track 3 erratically moving targets at once, becoming confused and spitting out firing solutions that arrived approximately a half-second too late for effective interception in that constrained environment. The lead Hornet's infrared camera sliced through the confusion, locking precisely onto the one signature that mattered: the bright, unmistakable heat plume of the Grad's engine exhaust, which became the attacker's single point of focus, and it guided the final lethal approach with ruthless accuracy. Ignoring the storm of lead, it began its terminal run. The other 2 Hornets peeled away, deliberately growing larger targets to draw fire, and when the CIWS finally locked onto one decoy, it vaporized, but the strike window had opened. The guns fell silent as they traversed to a new aim. The lead Hornet slipped through the storm with battery at 40%, 2 drones left, while the ship's final defenses screamed into life as Iglis SAMs now heated on their rails. The drone AI saw the flare cloud as a cheap trick and held course, while the Iglis missile, a simple seeker, detected multiple heat sources and became confused by the decoys. The second drone deliberately overclocked its engine, turning itself into an irresistible blazing bait. The Iglis altered course and locked onto the sacrificial drone, fulfilling its role as the planned decoy exactly. The missile's proximity fuse detonated 10 feet from the decoy, spraying white-hot shrapnel that shredded the lead Hornet's port wing. The drone lurched violently, tearing a gash down its fuselage and leaving smoke trailing from a damaged battery as systems faltered and mission parameters degraded. Warnings flashed on the SSO technician's screen as battery life plunged to 20%. The control link flickered, connection weakened, yet the last Hornet pressed on toward the target despite its injuries and damage. Could a wounded bird still fell a giant? At 071430, the scene devolved into chaos as the deck erupted in small arms fire. AK-74 rounds pinged against the Hornet's composite shell. Ineffectual, but frantic, each hit added destabilizing micro-impacts. The impacts weren't strong enough to break the drone, but each strike jostled its delicate gyros, forcing the wounded AI into thousands of micro-corrections. The Russian EW operator then attempted a brute force-focused radio jam. A concentrated high-energy radio blast severed the control link for a heartbeat, but the Ukrainians had planned for that contingency. A fiber optic tether spooled behind the drone deployed to maintain an unjammable, unbroken PIDESTHE communication beam, ensuring command and guidance persisted, even when radio and EW measures attempted to disable them. You cannot jam a beam of light with radio waves. The battered Hornet smoking and wounded closed within 500 yards, and the Russian sailors stopped firing, watching. Sensing victory, the AI made its final calculation. It rerouted every last reserve from the damaged wing stabilizers to the primary thruster, an all-or-nothing push. Battery fell to 10%, and the FPV camera filled with the Grad's glowing exhaust port as impact closed to 5 seconds, and the crew had no time to react. The Hornet's camera feed filled entirely with the glowing mouth of the exhaust vent. On deck, the frantic gunfire faded into stunned silence as the massive warship, needing 15 seconds to turn, faced an enemy that corrected 1,000 times per blink, utterly doomed. The wounded drone still adjusted endlessly, while miles away, the SSO truck was already rolling. They did not wait for confirmation. Launch meant disappear. There would be no cinematic rescue, only a clean retreat as planned. By the time the Grad turned fireball, the team would be gone, vanishing down a forest road. Russian plates replaced with Karelia tags, false compartments removed, truck refilled with local produce, just lost merchants if stopped. The Hornet's shaped charge didn't simply explode, it performed physics magic, the Monroe effect. In a microsecond, the explosive reshaped its copper liner into a jet of molten metal screaming at 18,000 miles per hour toward the engine block. The molten jet pierced the engine's steel casing like wet paper atomizing diesel in the fuel lines. The result, a catastrophic detonation trapped within armor meant to keep explosions out, now serving as a perfect containment chamber for destruction. Pressure waves ricocheted through bulkheads until in 1.3 seconds they found the missile magazine. The sympathetic blast ignited instantly. The Grad turned from a Baltic predator into a blazing wreck, a lakeside inferno of its own making. Yet the real blow wasn't the ship, it was the chaos left behind. The 680-meter Volga-Baltic Channel lifeline for 30% of Russia's fleet was now a kill zone. Logistics to the Caspian flotilla were severed, weeks of paralysis ahead. It was like unplugging a washing machine mid-cycle. The floor flooded the system in disarray. Telegram clips of the strike went viral, millions of views, while Russia's defense ministry called it merely a technical incident. NASA and Planet Labs exposed the lie. Satellite images revealed a scorched warship dead in the water 400 meters from Moscow, proof impossible to hide, shattering the myth of Russia's untouchable heartland. Strategically, the strike forced Moscow's nightmare choice pull precious Pantsir S-1 systems from the Donbass front to defend home canals. Every gun moved home leaves another hole open in the eastern sky for Ukrainian jets. The math was brutal. A $10,000 Wild Hornet destroyed a $500 million warship, a 5 million % return. Not just a victory, but proof cheap, smart swarms can rewrite naval warfare and bankrupt empires of steel. Ukraine had shown the world that a swarm from the back of a truck could make a navy obsolete. Now the question remains, what would you strike next? The ship or the canal lock that feeds them both?